The story unfolding between Washington and Abuja reads like a high-stakes diplomatic thriller, with $9 million American serving as the price tag for Nigeria's attempts to navigate the turbulent waters of Trump's foreign policy. The payment serves as a 6-month retainer, with the Tinubu administration having already paid DCI Group an initial $4.5 million tranche on December 12, 2025, and a second $4.5 million installment due by July 2026, bringing the total value of the deal to $9 million, or $750,000 per month, one of the most expensive lobbying contracts ever signed by an African government. Think about that figure for a moment. $9 million from a nation where millions struggle with basic necessities, where infrastructure crumbles, and where security challenges have become an existential threat. Yet here we are, watching Nigerian taxpayers' money flow into the coffers of Washington lobbyists in a desperate bid to appease an American president who threatened to send troops into the country, guns ablazing. The roots of this expensive diplomatic dance trace back to last month when Trump ordered the Pentagon to draw up plans for possible military action against Nigeria and warned that the U.S. would suspend aid to the West African country. On Christmas night, Trump announced a strike directed at ISIS terrorist scum in northern Nigeria, Sokoto state specifically, targeting insurgents. Mr. Trump has since vowed to conduct more airstrikes if the killings of Christians continue. What makes this story even more intriguing is the competing lobbying efforts at play. According to reports, Biafran separatist groups have also been actively lobbying in Washington, though their efforts pale in comparison to Abuja's massive financial commitment. The Nigerian government's $9 million contract essentially outbids these competing narratives, demonstrating the high-stakes nature of influence peddling in Trump's Washington. Chidi Blyden, a former Pentagon official who served under President Joe Biden and was reportedly involved in aspects of the engagement, said the scale of the contract reflects the Tinubu administration's urgency in repairing strained relations with the Trump White House, noting that, given the ongoing strikes in northern Nigeria to root out terrorist havens, having open lines of communication across multiple sectors between the two governments is key, and it's a sign that President Bola Tinubu's administration wants a relationship with the Trump administration, and it is taking steps to do this through the private sector. But let's pause here and consider what this really means. Nigeria isn't just paying for lobbying services, it's essentially paying for survival in the court of American foreign policy. The Christmas Day strikes demonstrated Trump's willingness to use military force, creating a climate of fear that has driven Nigeria to open its checkbook wider than ever before. If you are finding this analysis valuable, don't forget to subscribe to stay updated on these critical international developments. The implications of this story extend far beyond Nigeria's borders, touching on fundamental questions about sovereignty, international relations, and the price nations must pay to maintain favorable relationships with global superpowers. Nigeria is not relying on DCI Group alone to gain Mr. Trump's goodwill, as U.S. Attorney and ex-congressional foreign policy official Johanna Blank also declared a $5,000 payment to write a letter to Chris Smith, chair of the House Foreign Affairs Subcommittee on Africa, before a scheduled hearing on the insecurity crisis assailing Nigeria. This multi-pronged approach reveals the depth of Nigeria's anxiety about its relationship with Washington. The religious dimension of this crisis cannot be ignored. Trump's framing of the Nigerian conflict as primarily an attack on Christians has been disputed by experts who point out that both Christians and Muslims suffer from the violence plaguing the country. Yet this narrative has taken hold in certain American political circles, particularly among evangelical Christians who form a crucial part of Trump's base. Critics within Nigeria have been scathing about this expenditure. Opposition voices argue that instead of spending millions on American lobbyists, the government should be investing those resources in actually fighting the terrorists and bandits that plague the nation. It's a valid point that resonates with many Nigerians who see their government prioritizing image management over concrete security improvements. The involvement of National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu using a Kaduna-based law firm, Asta Legal, to hire DCI Group raises another layer to this complex story. The use of an intermediary law firm raises questions about transparency and the true nature of these arrangements. What we are witnessing here is modern diplomacy at its most transactional. Gone are the days of quiet diplomatic channels and measured responses. In Trump's world, nations must pay to play, and Nigeria has decided that $9 million is a price worth paying to avoid further military intervention and maintain some semblance of sovereignty. The broader Africa-US relations are profound. If Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation and largest economy, feels compelled to spend such astronomical sums on lobbying, what does this mean for smaller, less wealthy African nations seeking to engage with Washington? This precedent could reshape how African governments approach relations with the United States for years to come. As this story continues to unfold, questions remain about the effectiveness of this expensive lobbying. Will $9 million buy Nigeria the breathing room it needs to address its security challenges without American military intervention, or is this just the beginning of an even more expensive relationship with Trump's Washington? The tragic irony is that while millions of dollars flow to Washington lobbyists, ordinary Nigerians continue to suffer from the very insecurity that prompted American threats in the first place. The terrorists haven't disappeared, the violence hasn't stopped, and the fundamental issues driving conflict in Nigeria remain unaddressed. This situation exemplifies the challenges facing developing nations in an increasingly transactional international system. When diplomatic relationships can be bought and sold, when military intervention can be threatened via social media, and when national sovereignty becomes negotiable, we are entering uncharted waters in international relations. As viewers of this unfolding drama, we must ask ourselves what kind of world order we are creating when nations must pay millions to foreign lobbyists just to maintain peaceful relations with global powers. The Nigerian example may be extreme, but it's unlikely to be unique, as more nations find themselves navigating similar pressures. The $9 million question remains: will this investment in lobbying translate into tangible benefits for Nigeria, or is this simply an expensive band-aid on a relationship that requires far more fundamental repairs? Only time will tell, but one thing is certain: the age of checkbook diplomacy is fully upon us, and Nigeria has just written one of the biggest checks yet.